the way I look at it, when businesses, are trying to choose some sort of an operating model for data centers, uh, they have these options of hyperscale. They're looking at co-location, or they maybe are looking at on-prem. How do customers weigh storage performance, efficiency, and scalability?
You have the three options, right? So you have your own data center, you put your applications, you need something, you have to go out, buy it, if you can afford, by the way, and that's the traditional way of implementing IT application. The second one is colocation. Why do I need colocation? Well, colocation means moving my data center into a better one which has the room for scalability, and I don't have to take care of anything which is related to the surroundings of the application itself. Hyperscale gives you everything.
Welcome to Discover Dialogues podcast, powered by TechDogs. The world of business and technology is evolving at breakneck speed. AI breakthroughs, digital transformation, and game-changing innovations are reshaping industries every day. On this show, we dive into the trends, ideas, and strategies driving the future. We're sitting down with industry leaders, innovators, and disruptors to bring you fresh insights, bold perspectives, and real conversations that matter. So plug in, tune in, and let's discover what's next.
Today on the show, we're joined by Giorgio Ippoliti, Technologist for Field Applications Engineering at Sandisk. Giorgio's journey spans over 2 decades, from the early days of hardware design to leading cutting-edge storage solutions across EMEA. With his unique blend of hands-on engineering and thought leadership, he brings a wealth of knowledge on what's next in the tech landscape. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of TechDogs Discover Dialogues. Giorgio, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
I'm happy to be here as well, Mick.
So, Giorgio, you've had a career that spans some of the most exciting shifts in hardware and storage technology. So, right from your early engineering, days at Siemens to your current role where you're advising enterprises, across EMEA at Sandisk, you've actually navigated both technological revolutions and also, I think, industry transformations. So, I'd love for you to kind of take our audience through that journey and how it shaped you both as a engineer and also a leader.
Well, it's not it's a 25 years long story, to be honest with you. So I started with as you said, with Siemens.com. So at the time we were building the infrastructure for the internet. So I was a hardware digital design engineer. I spent about 6 to 7 years there, and then I moved to a company which was called Estec. And Estec was a pioneer in enterprise SSDs. Here's the connection with storage. That wasn't the only product, but it was definitely the flagship product. And that was the start, actually. So from Stec, I moved to then AGST from an acquisition, and I finally ended up in Sandisk.
All right. So, in that sense, your journey, sets a strong foundation for where we are headed next, because you've kind of seen, like I said earlier as well, you've seen technology evolve firsthand.
Yeah.
And especially, there of the changes that we are seeing in data centers today, because of AI and automation, which are really pushing the infrastructure to its limits. So I'd love to kind of start with the enterprise landscape. Today, AI isn't a tool; it's transforming how industries run and what they expect from their infrastructure. How do you think the rise of AI and automation is transforming sectors like healthcare, finance, and how are the expectations from storage systems evolving?
Well, I'd like to start with we were talking about the history, right? So finance, to give you an idea, the first people buying what was called at the time PCI Express based SSDs, which now everybody has heard about NVMe, right? So before NVMe, there was no standard, there was only PCI Express. And the finance sector, and specifically high frequency trading, were the first customers, understanding immediately what was the advantage of going faster. And they wanted the fastest products available, which was at the time connected through PCI Express. That led then to the standardization. So we went from PCI, and everybody had their own, way of doing it, including the company that I was working with. And that ended up into instead the standards, customizations and everything. So a standard and so on. Always basically transforming all these systems. Well, Flash at the end of the day is all about low latency, low to ultra low latency, and throughput. So AI needs data to be ingested, processed in real time, and as fast as possible. You want your system to be trained as fast as possible. You want your system to be able to react to customers' interaction as fast as possible. So that's where Flash replacing, I would say, or working with the traditional storage systems that we had until 10 years ago, is transforming those systems and actually enabling them. We wouldn't have AI without Flash.
And I can imagine, these ultra low latency and high throughput, is actually putting a lot of pressure on the back-end data center infrastructure.
It is.
And what is the pressure looking like?
Yes, one thing that I think it's interesting to know. So we were talking about PCI Express. So throughout various generations, so you call it generation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now 6, and actually 7 as well. Well, generation 3 lasted for about 10 years, so a decade. Now we have a strong push towards Gen 5. This is all driving a faster acceleration into new technology and faster, actually, technologies. And we're expecting the next big thing, right, on the interconnection.
And, how are customers then planning, or maybe how is it impacting budget cycles and refresh strategies in the data center space?
Well, it's all driven by what you want by what your customers want, right? So at the end of the day, it's all driven by what your customers want. So, and right now, customer wants AI. The reality is that AI can transform pretty much everything. We were talking about healthcare and finance. Finance definitely, like I'm thinking about analysis of data, just to give an idea, or healthcare. You can think about automatic diagnosing on images, processing images, and immediately give you a diagnosis without having to involve or helping, in fact, human involvement. Now, AI is not for replacing humans. It's more to help them. Many are feared by this idea, right, of being replaced. But the idea is not to replace, but rather to help humans of doing things better. This is what I think that we will have a strong move. So
and we talked about flash storages earlier, and you talked about some of the real-time AI demands, or the real-time demands of automation that is required. What are some of the significant advantages flash storages offer?
So, well, high speed, low latency. At the end of the day, it's all about this. As I was saying before, you wouldn't have AI without fast storage, where it is high throughput or high throughput and ultra low latency. Both things doesn't have necessarily to be together, in the sense that you may have one or both, depending on the application itself. But that's where basically the Flash is helping out, because without, you wouldn't have this ability. And as I was saying, it's nice to see even this move to faster transition to newer technologies, and inventing also new technology to better service the AI and automation.
And the way I look at it, when businesses are trying to choose some sort of an operating model for data centers, they have these options of hyperscale. They're looking at co-location, or they maybe are looking at on-prem. How do customers weigh storage performance, efficiency, and scalability?
Well, you have the three options, right? So one option is basically to continue what it is now. So what it is now, what you had in the past. So you have your own data center, you put your applications, you need something, you have to go out, buy it, if you can afford, by the way. And that's the traditional way of implementing IT application. The second one is collocation. Why do I need collocation? Well, collocation means moving my data center into a better one which has the room for scalability, and I don't have to take care of anything which is related, on the surroundings of the application itself. Hyperscale gives you everything because you can scale easily. You just buy more. You want to buy a new application because you think that you might need it or you have the need for it. You can buy things that you wouldn't be able to afford because you can't justify the cost. But of course, if you can eventually rent it for, I don't know, 1 month, 2 months, and then you're gone, right? You do whatever you have to do, and you don't need to have expensive equipment lasting for forever. Then we can talk about CapEx, OpEx, and everything, of course, but that would probably last forever, I think, because nobody has come to full decisions. It's
Right.
kind of, you have to decide on your own and see if it fits you or not, of course. But these are other things to take into account. Yes.
But do you think there are, or are you seeing hybrid strategies emerging as well?
I see that hybrid strategies are probably the one that everybody's choosing. At the end of the day, it's more about hybrid. Some customers, I'll say something strange, some customers, especially the smallest one, very honestly, prefer to have everything in their own premises and don't want to go out because they feel that people can take care of them better if they keep everything in house. A few years ago, and in fact, both things are growing together. As I say, the vast majority is now going through an hybrid approach. They want to leverage the hyperscalers, and at the same time they want to keep some data, because at the end of the day now data are part of the the capital, I would say, of a company. And they think that, well, maybe I need to retain my property on this, but on this one not really, because it's better to offload this out of my data center. So again, hybrid is in fact what I'm seeing the most, and I think this is the model that is establishing itself.
So obviously, Giorgio, 2023 to 2025 has been a very transformative period. Because of AI coming in, there are a lot of changes that are happening on the storage, on the processing, on the power, and obviously the next couple of years are going to be no different. But I'd love to understand your outlook on what do you think is the next big disruption in data center tech.
I'd like to talk about a new technology that we are actually introducing. We have introduced now, which is called high bandwidth flash. You may have heard about high bandwidth memory. Now, high bandwidth memory is the connection of RAM to the GPUs. It was invented back a few years ago. I think more than 10 years ago, actually, now. As a company, we are now proposing high bandwidth flash. So why it would be transforming? But again, some application need throughput and higher capacity for your models. And I really think that this one has the capability, to enable more than what would be by continuing with the current, or only the current generation of memories for storage. But we just announced that we want to standardize it. We were to create the standardization. So I think it has the potential to enable something different, to enable some kind of transformation into the data center as it is now.
And in terms of cost, how does it kind of equate?
The main advantage is capacity per cost. So you can reduce your cost because your capacity will be much higher for the same cost and similar throughput.
You come across as a person who is really deeply technical. and at the same time you have this broader industry conversation as well. And it's in my opinion, they're two different worlds altogether. So how do you approach being that technologist and technology evangelist at the same time?
Well, these are two different things, but somewhat is to understand who your customers are, if I can use that word, for describing both things, right? So if you're a technologist and you're going to your customers, you will be talking to people that may even know better than you what they need. And the first thing in that case is listen to them. Don't try to talk, just listen and first understand what they are talking about and what they need, and then you can reply and bring your knowledge to help them to solve their problems. As an evangelist, it's a bit different. You're talking to tech savvy people because they're there and they want to listen to you basically, but it's you talking and they're waiting for you, in fact. More than trying to present their case, they instead want to learn from you what you know. And somewhat you need to be less technical because the people in front of you may not really want to hear about what PCI Gen 6 or 7 are. This is irrelevant, right? At the end of the day. But they want to know how AI may be transforming their life, and that you're enabling it, or you're part of what can enable it.
And just a follow up on that, right? So, being an technologist and being an evangelist, I'm sure they kind of impact each other and your work. How does that come about?
You see, as a technologist, you see how the technology is evolving. So not only what we do, but how we solve the problems of the customers. And very honestly, we hear also about their applications. And their applications are basically what then will transform the life of the other people that don't work on that, but may need, something. So I think that's where the connection is. So taking from both worlds, if you want, and at the same time, when you listen and you're an evangelist, but you may listen also to some questions, and this question may come like new ideas that are then going on the other side.
Right.
Hey, I don't know, someone has a problem that nobody seems to have understood how to solve it. And then someone will emerge and will find a way, because at the end of the day, what companies are doing is solving our needs, right? Providing a solution to our needs. That's what a company is doing at the end of the day.
And Giorgio, finally, I'd love to talk about the next generation of talent in this space. Like you said, you've done this for more than 2 decades. If you were to give some piece of advice to young engineers who are trying to build a career in data infrastructure and storage, what would it look like?
Well, first of all, be passionate about computing. You really need to like computers. Otherwise, well, it's not going to work. You can learn as much as you want, but it's never going to work. You need to be passionate about it. And that's the first thing. And the second one, be a relentless learner. And never think that storage is around since the 50s, so there's nothing there, right? Well, I can say that I'm seeing new things every year. So never stop being a learner. That's my point. Never think that the technology, even if it's an established technology, the reality is that it's always transforming, because new things will require different ways of storing the data. You need to learn continuously, and never give anything for granted.
And how can the younger talent kind of get exposure to not only the technical depth, but also strategic thinking earlier on in their career?
Well, my personal, I can talk about myself because I don't want to talk too much about myself. But if you see my journey, my career journey, I started as a designer. So I think if you want to build a technical career, it was a very good thing of starting really on doing things, making things. Sorry. on making things rather than just learning and seeing what the others are doing. That's just my feeling. It gives you an openness of mind, which is better and allows you to be better at doing a technical career. For a sales job, it's different, of course. A purely sales job, it's different. But if you want to be tech savvy, in my opinion, you need to start with that. Then, of course, you need to make the move at some point. And for me, it was because if you're a designer, you're always in the office. You're not traveling at all. Yeah, from time to time, you may go to a different location of your company, but that's pretty much it. And I wanted to see a little bit more of the world, so I made the jump. But I could make the jump easily because I knew what my future customers needed because I was on the other side of the fence.
All right. So before we wrap up, Giorgio, I want to step away, from the tech talk that we've been having and get to know you on more on a personal level. Through a quick rapid fire questions that will give our audiences a sense of Giorgio behind the technologist and the technology evangelist. So
Okay.
whenever you're ready, let me know. I just want you to be completely candid.
Okay, sure.
Espresso or cappuccino? What's your fuel of choice?
Espresso.
A book, a podcast, or a playlist? What's your go-to on a long flight?
Book and podcast.
So, what are your thoughts on pineapple on pizza?
No, I understand that. No. No.
Okay, now I get. Now I got it.
It's no.
It's no. Okay. What's that one place on your travel bucket list you haven't checked off yet?
South America.
Mountains, beaches, or cities? What's your vacation vibe?
I love hiking, so yeah, mountains are. But I'm gifted because I live in northern Italy, so the mountains are just right there.
What's your favorite way to unwind after a long work day?
Meeting with my friends.
One food you could eat every day and never get bored of.
I'd say pizza, even if I'm not from the south, but honestly, I'd say pizza.
Okay.
Probably I can do it. Yeah.
Okay. Which city has the best coffee you ever had?
Let me think about it. Trieste, which is in the eastern part of Italy. They have, it's probably in Trieste. I don't know if it was because of the place. They were roasting their own coffee, which makes a lot of the experience, as you may know. But
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
it's all about
Absolutely.
roasting, and if you're roasting it yourself right before doing it, making the coffee, it's usually it makes the difference. But honestly, yes, there's a nice coffee. I may not be talking about that, but there's a very nice coffee coming back to the early 20th century there,
Oh, nice.
which is a nice
Nice.
place.
If you could time travel, would you go to the past or would you go to the future?
No, to the future. I want to see the future. Yeah.
Okay. What is the most adventurous thing that you've done up until now?
I told you that I love hiking, but that started not so long time ago, just 20 years ago. And a friend of mine took me to the top of a mountain.
Hmm.
He helped me to go, but for me, it was adventurous. It was adventurous. I didn't have the right equipment, by the way, which was something stupid. Don't do that. Absolutely don't do that. I made it. I'm still here, as you can see.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was definitely adventurous. That was definitely adventurous, but exciting.
If you weren't in tech, what's a career you'd secretly think you'd rock in?
Chemistry.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, chemistry. I even had the idea of switching when I was at the university. Yeah, I even had the idea of switching from chemistry. I have a degree in electrical engineering, but basically at the time, I was even thinking about switching to chemistry. When I ended up here, but it was kind of.
And one final one, and this could be much closer to your heart. One Italian phrase you think the world should adopt.
Chi dorme non piglia pesci. I think in English would be early birds get the worm.
Oh, nice. Nice. Fantastic. Giorgio, thank you so much for joining us today. your insights, your experiences, and what you think the future of data infrastructure is going to look like. You know, I'm sure some of the things that you talked about are going to be pretty insightful for our audiences. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. Any parting thoughts?
That's not a phrase from me, but someone wrote it some years ago, and stay hungry and stay foolish. I fully agree on that.
On that note, we would love to thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you, Vic.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, or your favorite podcast app. Catch past episodes and more at techdogs.com. See you next time.